What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to 3 changes for WWE. If you can't tell by the Camden Town beer shirt and the fleece and the fact that I look like this, I'm recording this right after I recorded the first video in this series, which is 3 changes for AEW. If you haven't watched that video, I'm going to leave it in the description. Go watch it. I think it's a good one. But for those who are just here for this video and haven't seen the previous one, well, what is this series? This series is where I suggest 3 changes that I would make to a wrestling company, a wrestling show, something in wrestling. It's going to grow, it's going to evolve. Maybe we're going to change it. Maybe I'll do specific wrestlers. Maybe. But basically, what it is I suggest 3 changes. Now, they're not going to be specific changes. It's not going to be like put the championship on this guy and fix everything. It's not going to be, do this. These are kind of broader changes on the scope of the company or the show as a whole. I'm going to suggest 1 small, 1 medium, and then 1 big change. These are all 3 things that I believe will help fix the company or the show or the wrestler or whatever I'm going to talk about. And today, as mentioned, we are talking about WWE. Now, WWE has been on an absolute tear lately. I think almost every show from the Netflix era of WWE has been unmissable. This week's NXT was a bit of a stinker. This week's NXT being 21st? The 21st of January NXT was a bit of a stinker. You can't tell me that's the best weekly wrestling show. It was a shitter. But I think a lot of what they've done in the Netflix era has been really good, and it's been building to a lot of stuff. I think having the Saturday Night's Main Event right before the Rumble was never going to be a good idea, and that show, kind of just seems like it's being set up to be underwhelming and not do as well as the first one. But apart from that, I feel like the majority of things going on in WWE are going really well. I think everyone that they want to be over is over in the way that they want them to be. And I know that's a bit of a confusing thing, but, they kept roaming on our screens throughout all of the late 2010s because they were like, listen to those reactions, brother, when, everyone just hated him. And it wasn't even like there was indifference, there was just sheer hate and he was being pushed as a white meat babyface. It's not that. I feel like everyone that the company wants to be over is over in the way that the company wants and needs them to be. I feel like everyone is playing their roles perfectly. I think everyone is kind of in a good spot. And I don't really feel like, for the first time in a long time, WWE are necessarily wasting anyone, which is incredibly impressive when you think of, I've been watching WWE since 2006, and I don't think I can confidently say there's ever been a time where they haven't been wasting anyone. And I feel like, at least at the top end, and with guys I like, I don't truly feel like anyone's really being, being hard done by at the minute, which I think is impressive. But that is not to say that WWE is without its faults and without its flaws, and that is not to say that I don't think there are some things that could change and would improve the company and improve the direction of the company if these were to be implemented. So let's just crack on with it. Let's just get into it. My 3 changes that I would make to WWE. Number 1, my small change. It's the same as the AEW one, man. You just gotta fix the fucking themes. At least with AEW, they have a good amount of iconic and knowable and known themes, and when you hear it, you're like, that's Hangman, that's MJF, that's Adam Cole, that's Kenny Omega, that's Chris Jericho, that's Mark. Well, the Death Riders one's kind of not that great. That's Cope, that's Hook, that's Joe. All of these themes, in WWE right now. Let's think of the Death Rebel originals, right? Let's not look at the ones that we grew up with. Let's not look at Cena and Punk and those guys that have been around for a while. Let's not even look at like the CFO's ones. Like, let's not look at Sammy and let's not look at KO. Let's just look at Death Rebel originals. Death Rebel originals I can pick out off the top of my head, if you were to play them to me right now, without the little sting, without the little thing, because the Death Rebel songs are all so bland that you need, and it's Tiffy Time, or you need A-Town Down Under, or you need even Bayley's one, which is one that I recognise now, and maybe that's just because I think Bayley's been on every episode of television since the new year. You have Role Model at the start of that. You have the machine gun fire at the start of the Motorcycle Machine Guns is one. Without all of those stingers at the start, you play them for me, I'm not going to be able to pick many of them out of a lineup. But let's just go straight Death Rebel originals that I can pick out of a lineup. We're going to, I guess, Rhea Ripley's, but that also doesn't, I don't know if I would count that because of Chris Motionless being on it, so I'm not going to count it. Pure Death Rebel originals, off the top of my head, the Motorcycle Machine Guns, Bayley, Rollins, Roman. Oh, No, Bianca's is Bianca's is CFOs. Bianca's is CFOs. Yep. Sheamus has one from before them. Drew's is one from before them. I only know Braun Breaker's because of the siren. Gunter's is dog shit. Just keep Anthony Dvorak. Just keep it. It was so perfect. Yeah, Def Rebel are all-time shitters. When I used to watch the Royal Rumble as a kid, and even when I was watching the Rumble at 18 years old, you knew who it was. The music hits, you go, that's Nakamura. The music hits, you go, oh shit, Johnny Gargano's here. Oh shit, there's fucking Ty Dillinger from NXT, he's came up. When the music hits with all of these, you knew who it was. And now, like I said in the AEW video, we can't hold a Def Rebel to the standards of a Jim Johnson. Jim Johnson was just a truly spectacular and phenomenal songwriter and musician. The fact that he was able to get so many iconic and memorable themes, even for shitters who are going to be off TV in 4 weeks, we can't really hold them to that standard. But we should be holding them to the standard of CFOs, who at the time many people didn't like. CFOs were able to create good and memorable and character-fitting themes for everyone across all sort of genres and spectrums of music, whereas Def Rebel put out shit. And I think when the report came out last year around about September, October time, that Triple H was sort of willing to spend money and license themes, we're now all this time later and he's still not done that for anyone. And I'm not saying that it needs to be done for NXT guys. I'm not trying to find out they spent all this money for a fucking theme for Ashante the Adonis or whatever. But even like the big exciting debut of the Motor City Machine Guns, and I don't mind, to be honest with you, I don't think Raise Your Fist is that bad. I quite like it. I think it feels enough like the Motor City Machine Guns themes that I grew up with that I do like it. But they don't need to break the bank on licensing a theme, but get a Teenage Bottle Rocket song for them. I just even the instrumental of Skate or Die is going to be better than Raise Your Fists and anything else that Def Rebel could cook up in their fucking devious laboratory of black magic and awful songs. But back to my point about the Royal Rumble, the fact that Def Rebel can't create iconic and good songs for people ruins the fun of the Royal Rumble. I was watching the Royal Rumble last year. Now, granted, there was a few of us, and I'm pretty sure only 2 of us were really locked in because it was wrestling. I think the other boys were there because they were like, oh, we can drink, that'll be a laugh. But we were watching, and we were sat so close to the TV so we could hear the themes, so we could be like, fuck, this is who it is now. And me and Cam were looking at each other going, who's that? Whose music is this? I don't know who this is. And it hurts. And everything I said about AEW and with their kind of theme problem, which I do think they also have, rings true much, much more here. A wrestler's entrance music is a part of a wrestler's presentation. And if that wrestler's entrance music is bad, that means a part of their presentation is bad. From the minute that music hits to the minute that bell rings, we need to be feeling it and we need to be in it. And none of it with Def Rebel, for the most part, almost none of it, is doing that. And I don't know. Well, I know what the answer is. We just got to get rid of Def Rebel and bring in a more competent writing team. But again, not being afraid to expand and ask different musicians and people to come in and do all this and license some music is going to go a long way to helping make the quality of the presentation of the shows better. Okay then, so my number 2 change, my medium change that I would make to WWE is very simple. We need to stop the 5-match pay-per-view. When you only have 5 matches on there and you're trying to spread it to at least a 3-hour show, look at fucking. I'm pretty sure one of the last pay-per-views or PLEs was 47% ads. And then when you take away like entrances and victory celebrations and promos and interview segments, it was probably less than 50% was happening bell to bell on that show. What are we doing? I've always said, if Raw is 3 hours, which I know now on Netflix it's fluid and it can kind of be whatever, but if Raw is 3 hours and we're setting the benchmark that Raw is 3 hours, I'm pretty sure SmackDown is still on a 3-hour slot right now. If Raw and SmackDown are 3 hours, the pay-per-view should be minimum 4. And I understand that, especially from where I live in the world, if I'm staying up making the shows longer is of a detriment to me. I understand that. But why should I care about this show if it is the same amount of time as the show that I just watch every week and more than half of it isn't happening in a ring? We're getting ads, you know, the new Miz Slim Jim ad or whatever he's doing, or a Snickers ad, or all these things. And I understand in a world where we're not selling traditional pay-per-view, putting these ads on there, having companies sponsor matches is ways to bring the revenue up. But if WWE continuously say, this is the largest arena gate we've ever had, because they're charging their fans an exorbitant amount of money. I looked at tickets for Raw, I'd be paying £175 before fees to sit with a restricted view if I want to see John Cena wrestle at Raw. That is fucking crazy. But all this comes back to the 5-match pay-per-view concept. It worked for NXT at the time, the takeover formula. Because at the time, NXT was filming anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks in a day. You'd go to the tapings, they'd film a month or two, or maybe even a little bit longer over a weekend of tapings. And when you do that, that means your Adam Coles and your Johnny Garganos and your Aleister Blacks and your Pete Dunnes and your Tommaso Ciampas and all these guys and Bianca and Rhea and Shayna and all of these people that is over with the crowd, they can't wrestle on TV every single week. So they're wrestling and then they're doing promos and backstage stuff. And it also helped stop them becoming super overexposed. And then, when it comes time for the takeover, we go, well, everyone is super into the Rhea and Shayna stuff that's going on over here. Everyone is super into what Gargano and Ciampa is doing over here. And then you can build that 5-match card out from that. Because we're not overexposing all these people. We're having these matches feel bigger because we're not seeing these people on TV every week. So it worked. But now we're in an era where everything is going out live, 2 hours a week, every week, minimum, live. Which means you can have these people on TV and wrestle every week if you so choose. And if you're doing all that, say for instance, you're having Jacob Fatu wrestle on TV all the time, when you get to the pay-per-view and you're doing 5 matches and you're doing 2 world titles, 2 women's titles in the IC, and Jacob Fatu's in none of those scenes, then why the fuck has he been on TV every week? Why should we be caring about him being on TV every week? I think another big thing that also really drives this home is the fact that I believe I read somewhere it's been since the middle of last year since the tag titles were defended on a pay-per-view or a premium live event. If the tag championships can't even get on there, what is the point for non-title feuds? What's the point in investing in non-title feuds if their blow-offs aren't going to be seen on a bigger stage, on a grander stage? Why should we care about these non-title feuds that are happening on our TVs if they don't deserve to be shown on at the big shows? I think the 5-match card for the pay-per-views can work, and I think especially with a pay-per-view like the Rumble, when you need to have 2 Rumble matches on there, definitely works better because it allows the Rumbles more time to breathe, and you're not just going, here's like Dakota Kai versus Rhea, say. Here's Dakota Kai versus Rhea, here's a Rumble, here's Nakamura versus LA Knight, here's Roman wrestling, like here's Kevin Owens and Cody, and there's a Roman match, here's another Rumble. Like, for certain events, that works. But throughout the year, I think it devalues the pay-per-view, and I also think it devalues the talent who don't get to be on the pay-per-view. So my second change, my medium change, has fucking been the 5-match pay-per-view. And I know that seems like a big change, but it's not as big as my real big change, which is don't be afraid to end a story before you have planned. Now, what do I mean by that? What does that mean? It's kind of the opposite of one of the things that I think AEW could learn a lot from doing. And it isn't one of the changes that I put in my AEW video. It was my original medium change for AEW, was learn when to pull the trigger. And WWE need to learn when to pull the plug. And I think this kind of goes back to the 5-match pay-per-view with Triple H thinking back to the glory days of Black and Gold NXT, 2016, 17, 18 into 19, when NXT was the hottest thing in professional wrestling, and everyone was hooked on what NXT was doing. Everyone was watching the hour of NXT every week, and we were watching all the takeovers, and everyone was so excited for all of this stuff. And when someone lost the title and we're like, oh shit, they're getting called up, we all got sad and scared. He's still booking like that for a completely different product. The fact of the matter is this: the WWE Women's World Championship was tied up in the Rhea and Liv feud for the whole year. Even when Rhea was out, they were doing the has Dom been cheating on Rhea, has Liv Dom, like all of this stuff. And there were many, many, many points throughout the year where the WWE Women's World Championship felt like the secondary prize to Dominic Mysterio. And I think the feud had its moments, and the feud had its place, and the feud sometimes worked. I don't think it was great. I don't even know if I'd necessarily call it good because of how long it ran for. By insisting that these stories run for months and months and months, it holds championships hostage, it freezes people out of the main event scene, and it ultimately stunts the growth and the momentum of wrestlers who are just on the cusp of breaking through. Now, this is a big problem I had with the Bloodline storyline, especially when Roman was the champion, because we kind of knew that Roman was never losing the championship anywhere but WrestleMania. So because of that, we knew that when guys were getting hot, and when guys were kind of building and building and building, they weren't going to get that. If a guy gets hot in May and WrestleMania was last month, this guy's not beating Roman because it's not WrestleMania. Those issues have trickled down into everything now. And like I say, this could work in NXT and Black and Gold NXT. You could run a feud for 9 months of the year in Black and Gold NXT because you maybe had 4 takeovers in that time, and you maybe saw these people wrestle on TV maybe 10 times in those 9 months. Like, and I don't just mean wrestle each other, wrestle kind of as individuals and in different matches. So you can have that slow burn and that build go over months and months and months. But eventually, when we're watching it live and we're exposed to these same acts on TV every single week, because it's live and because you can do that and there's a lot less risk to overextending and injuring your wrestlers when you're only having them wrestle once a week, it has a serious threat to the quality of the TV, I feel. Triple H's insistence on long, drawn-out booking has led to many matches and stipulations becoming predictable, and I don't necessarily always think that predictability in wrestling means bad, but I think for things like Money in the Bank and the Royal Rumble, predictability in those matches is bad, because anyone could win these, and then anyone now has a shot at the champion. But it was very clear it was going to be Cody, and it was very clear it was going to be Cody again this year. And that's not to say that all these issues stem from Hunter's booking. I think you look at Vince and you look at when there was only one world championship and Roman had both the belts. Anyone who wins Money in the Bank, they're not beating Roman. When Theory wanted to cash in on the US championship because they wasted a Money in the Bank cash in on a year when it was very clear that Roman wasn't going to lose anytime soon. And I think having championships and main event feuds wrapped up and having the vision that this starts here and it ends here and we're going to do all these things in the middle hurts everyone below that status on the card. Once again, with the Rhea and Liv feud taking up all of the airtime for the better part of a year, taking up all the airtime in that Raw Women's division for the better part of a year, it has left us in a place where there is only one name who excites me to win the Royal Rumble. Well, 2, I guess, because I would like to see Io win the Royal Rumble, because I would like to see Io versus Rhea. But that's just, But in terms of actual people that I think have a chance of winning and could tell an interesting story, there is only one person who I believe can win the Women's Royal Rumble. And notice how I didn't say one person on that roster, because we still don't know where Jordynne Grace is going to go. The only thought that really, really, really excites me for a new direction for this women's division, and someone that we can believably see posing a threat to Rhea properly, because they've kind of neutered Io a little bit over the past year, is a debuting Jordynne Grace. And I think having Jordynne Grace debut in the Rumble and win the Rumble and go into WrestleMania to challenge Rhea Ripley, that is a brilliant way to make the Royal Rumble feel fresh again. But we should have never got to a place where we need the Royal Rumble to feel fresh again. So that's it for me here today. Those are my 3 changes that I would make to WWE to bring it back up and just fix the little issues that I see and that I notice and that I'm very aware of as a fan and a viewer of the company. But let me know what you thought. Let me know what changes. The storm's still going on, but let me know what you thought. Let me know what changes you would make. Let me leave them down in the comments below. Let me know, if there's anything that I missed, if there's anything that I maybe overlooked, or something that I'm not even thinking about that could kind of, overruns one of my points, that proves it wrong. If you're also here to be like, what change did I make to WWE? I don't know, because I don't watch WWE, I watch real wrestling. Then stop that, because we're here to spread positivity and love about wrestling. That's what this channel's for, because we like wrestling. So, once again, Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, leave it a like, share it around to all your friends, show it to them and go, look at this handsome man with the good wrestling opinions. Once again guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.